What if one of the sweetest nursery rhymes was actually a coded account of murder, betrayal, and torture? In this episode, we unravel the sinister history behind Mary, quite contrary, a seemingly harmless English nursery rhyme with roots steeped in blood and scandal. Was it inspired by Mary Queen of Scots, whose life was riddled with tragic love, political conspiracies, and gruesome murder? Or does it point to Mary Tudor, better known as Bloody Mary, and her brutal religious purge? By the end of this video, you'll never hear that nursery rhyme the same way again. Prepare for a chilling journey through royal betrayal, courtly intrigue, and dark historical mysteries that still echo through the centuries. Nursery rhymes weren't always just for children. In times when speaking out against the monarchy could cost you your head, people got creative. Rhymes and riddles became camouflage, simple songs masking dangerous truths. Beneath the surface of jingles and garden imagery, they whispered secrets about royal scandals, public executions, and political unrest. So when we hear a line like, "Mary, Mary," quite contrary, it begs the question, which Mary? Because history gives us more than one queen who defied her country, stirred unrest, and left a trail of blood behind. One theory traces the rhyme back to Mary Stuart, better known as Mary Queen of Scots. A Catholic monarch in a fiercely Protestant country. She was young, charismatic, educated in the glittering courts of Europe, but utterly unprepared for the brutal politics of the Scottish nobility. Her reign became a storm of religious tension, romantic scandal, and deadly ambition. The line, "Mary, Mary, quite contrary," may have captured her in just 4 cutting words. A queen who refused to bow, not to Protestant reformers, not to Parliament, not even to her own husbands. Her court was not a place of peace. It was a battlefield between Catholic loyalists and Protestant rebels. Mary stood in the eye of the storm, making enemies faster than allies, and defending her crown with the defiance of someone who believed God was on her side. But as we'll soon see, even queens who believe they are chosen by heaven can be torn apart by the people closest to them. So how does her garden grow? Some say the garden was a metaphor for her ever-changing court, filled with betrayal and death. Silver bells and cockle shells weren't flowers at all. Some believe they refer to items of torture, devices used in Catholic inquisitions and executions, and pretty maids all in a row. Possibly a grim nod to Mary's ladies-in-waiting, some of whom were caught up in political intrigue, others in murder. One of the most shocking and symbolic acts of violence during Mary's reign was the murder of David Rizzio, her private secretary, and, some whispered, her secret lover. Rizzio was no noble. He was an Italian musician who had risen rapidly through Mary's favor, becoming a close confidant in a court filled with enemies. His sudden influence stirred jealousy, especially among the Protestant lords, and most dangerously in Mary's own husband, Lord Darnley. Consumed by suspicion, ego, and political insecurity, Darnley joined a faction of Protestant nobles in plotting Rizzio's assassination. Their goal wasn't just to remove a rival. It was to humiliate the queen, to remind her who held the real power. On the night of March 9th, 1566, the conspirators burst into Mary's private dining chamber at Holyrood Palace. She was pregnant at the time. Darnley held her in place while the others dragged Rizzio from her side. He clung to her skirts, crying for protection. Mary could do nothing. In front of her eyes, they stabbed him 56 times. His blood pooled on the palace floor. They left the body where it fell. It was more than a killing. It was a warning.
Did you see it? The blood!
He was dragged from her chambers.
A public statement that no one, not even the Queen, could shield her allies from the wrath of the Scottish lords. But that brutal power play didn't end the bloodshed. It only began it. Just a year later, Lord Darnley himself met a mysterious and violent end. He had been staying at a house in Kirkhoe Field when, in the early hours of February 10th, 1567, an explosion rocked the grounds. The house was reduced to rubble. But Darnley's body wasn't found in the ruins. It was discovered in the garden outside the blast zone. He had been strangled, not burned, not crushed, not killed in the explosion at all. The message was clear: this wasn't an accident. It was a murder, staged to look like chaos. Someone had wanted him silenced and erased. The prime suspect, James Hepburn, the Earl of Bothwell, one of Mary's most powerful and controversial allies. Within weeks of Darnley's death, Bothwell would abduct Mary and marry her in a rushed and scandalous ceremony. Many believed the marriage was coerced. Others believed it was complicit. Either way, it shattered what little support Mary had left. The nobles rose up. The public turned against her. And the woman once crowned Queen of 3 nations was soon imprisoned, forced to abdicate, and sent fleeing into exile. But what if this wasn't the Mary in question? What if the rhyme wasn't just about courtly betrayal and tragic romance, but something much darker? If Mary, quite contrary, is more than a nursery rhyme, then Mary Tudor may be its most chilling inspiration. She was the daughter of Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon, the only child of their union to survive. A rightful heir, but one raised in the shadow of exile, humiliation, and her father's violent split from the Catholic Church. When Mary finally claimed the throne in 1553, it wasn't just a coronation, it was retribution. Mary was obsessed with restoring England to the old faith. For her, Protestantism wasn't just heresy, it was treason against God, and so began one of the bloodiest religious purges in English history. In less than 5 years, she ordered the burning of more than 280 Protestants, men, women, even children, all tied to wooden stakes and set alight as crowds watched in silent horror. Her reign became a garden of ashes. Now the nursery rhyme takes on a darker shape. Mary, quite contrary, a queen who defied the Protestant majority. How does your garden grow? Not with flowers, but with graves. A kingdom turned into a burial ground. With silver bells and cockle shells, believed to be nicknames for twisted instruments of Catholic torture. And pretty maids all in a row, the condemned lined up for execution. Or worse, a reference to the maiden, a primitive guillotine used in Scotland. Isolated, aging, and increasingly despised by her people, Mary clung to a single hope, that she would bear a Catholic heir who would restore England to the faith she believed God demanded. She announced her pregnancy with joy, convinced that she was pregnant. Bells rang, prayers were offered, but months passed and no child came. It happened twice. Each time, Mary had believed with all her soul that she was pregnant with her heir, and each time she was left hollow. Today, historians suspect she suffered from pseudocyesis, or phantom pregnancy, a condition where the body mimics pregnancy due to psychological distress, hormonal imbalance, or, in Mary's case, perhaps a tumor. Some believe she was already suffering from undiagnosed uterine or ovarian cancer in her final years. Her mind began to darken. Enemies seemed to surround her. And then there was her half-sister Elizabeth. She was a living symbol of Protestant defiance, young, sharp-witted, and beloved by many. Everything Mary was not. Mary feared her, hated her, and yet she could not remove her. Though she imprisoned Elizabeth in the Tower of London under suspicion of treason, she stopped short of ordering her execution. But she knew that if she died without a child, Elizabeth would become queen. When Mary finally died in 1558, the people did not mourn her. The fires stopped, the bells tolled, and Elizabeth, the sister she had tried to destroy, became queen. Whether drawn from the doomed romance of Mary, Queen of Scots, or the ruthless reign of Bloody Mary, Mary, quite contrary, is no simple nursery rhyme. Beneath its sweet rhymes lies a haunting tale of power, paranoia, and bloodshed.